chosen one. Listen carefully. Heaven remembers what you tried to forget. The sound of December 3rd was not lost in time, it was paused, waiting for this moment. The same vibration that once brushed your spirit like a whisper now returns as a storm. You are not imagining it. The air feels different because the spiritual realm is shifting again. You were warned before, but mercy covered you. This time, grace comes wrapped in urgency. You felt it back then, the trembling in your chest, the sleepless night, the dream that replayed like a prophecy you didn't want to interpret. You said, maybe it's just coincidence. But deep down, you knew heaven was speaking. You were marked that day, and when God marks you, he never forgets his sign. This is not punishment, it is pursuit. Heaven is chasing you again because your destiny refuses to die in silence. Look around you, the world feels heavier, conversations colder, distractions louder, yet beneath the noise, something eternal calls your name. That's not nostalgia, it's remembrance. Heaven is echoing a date because you did not finish what began then. Every storm since that day has been a reminder the message was not heard fully. And the warning is returning stronger today. Beloved, when God repeats himself, it is not because he stutters, it is because you were too wounded to listen the first time. And yet, he calls again. You thought you moved on, but the spirit world never did. There is unfinished business between you and heaven, an assignment delayed, a prayer abandoned halfway, a door you closed too soon. Do you remember the sign that appeared near that day? The unusual alignment, the phone call, the sudden silence that was not random. God speaks in symbols and sequences. When you notice the same patterns returning now, it means heaven is revisiting a covenant. Nothing is lost. It was simply suspended until your heart was ready again. You are ready now. That's why you're hearing this. That's why heaven pressed pause on your distractions just long enough to say, "Child, this is your moment of reawakening. Don't scroll away. Don't postpone this again. Every delay costs light. The voice you once silenced is calling again. And this time, it comes with the authority of destiny. You were chosen not to survive trends, but to shift them. You were not called to blend into timelines, but to rewrite them. That is why your resistance was so fierce, because darkness fears what you carry. You have felt misunderstood, isolated, even punished, but the truth is this: you were being preserved. December 3rd marked your preservation season. Now begins your activation season. The Spirit whispers, "Rise, beloved. The things that used to satisfy you now feel empty because your soul outgrew the shallows." Heaven refuses to let you waste another year running from your calling. This is the reminder, the repeat, the warning reborn. You are standing in a divine replay, not to relive pain, but to redeem time. As the world moves in chaos, heaven is recalibrating your steps. You will begin to notice the same dreams returning, the same verses appearing, the same numbers catching your attention. These are not coincidences. These are divine breadcrumbs leading you back to the place you left obedience. Follow them. They lead to restoration. You may have failed before, but failure does not cancel calling. The mercy of God extends beyond your mistakes. You didn't miss your moment, it circled back for you. That's why you're here, why you're reading this right now. You are in divine timing, not human coincidence. And listen, heaven is not angry. The Father is patient, but his patience is also precise. When he repeats a warning, it's because something critical approaches. Don't ignore this. The world is shifting spiritually, and the ones who listen will rise as light bearers amid collapse. You are one of them. You've always been one of them. Lift your eyes. Don't let guilt or regret keep you silent anymore. God's love did not expire when you hesitated, it waited. And now it whispers again through this message, "Return to me, and I will restore what was lost." As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 24, verse 42, "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord comes." Chosen one, this is that day of watchfulness. Heaven calls you to stay awake, not just in spirit, but in obedience. Listen to the echo of December 3rd. It's heaven reminding you that your life still carries divine instruction. Don't ignore this call again. Now, before you scroll away, act as a prophetic sign like share and subscribe so this message reaches every other chosen one still asleep. Comment 7 below if you hear heaven calling you again. Let the echo become a chorus. You remember the whisper, don't you? That faint yet unmistakable voice that came when the world was quiet, when your tears soaked the pillow and your heart whispered prayers you didn't know how to form. You silenced it not out of rebellion, but because you didn't trust that it could be real. You said to yourself, "It's just my thoughts." But deep within, something trembled. That trembling was not fear, it was recognition. Heaven had spoken and your spirit had heard. The voice of God does not compete with noise, it waits for stillness. It does not shout over distraction, it finds the moment when you are too exhausted to pretend anymore. That's when he comes not to condemn, but to call. And that's what happened that night after December 3rd. You brushed off the message because you thought you weren't holy enough to hear him, not realizing that brokenness is the very place where his whisper lands best. You silenced the voice, but heaven never stopped speaking. It just waited for the right moment to echo again. And now, the same words begin to surface in your spirit like waves returning to shore. You can't explain it, but phrases, memories, and sensations revisit you. That is the mercy of God revisiting your memory. You see, when God gives a warning, it is not a threat, it is an invitation, a call to alignment. His warnings are not punishment, they are protection in disguise. The voice you ignored was not trying to expose you, it was trying to spare you. Every disappointment since that day was not random. It was a consequence of disconnection. Heaven was trying to reroute you back to purpose. Think of how many times your heart said, "Something feels off," yet your mind pushed forward anyway. The same thing happened before December 3rd. You were on the edge of a major spiritual shift, but fear disguised itself as logic and silenced your obedience. God's whisper didn't vanish, it simply waited for your maturity to match your mission. And now, that time has come. The whisper you once silenced has grown stronger because heaven refuses to let your calling fade. There is an assignment that only you can carry, and until it is completed, divine reminders will follow you. You can't hide from your purpose. The Creator has written your destiny into the very rhythm of your heartbeat. Each beat is a reminder you were made for more. Beloved, listen closely now. When heaven speaks, it is not always in thunder or fire. Sometimes it comes in conviction, in the sudden realization that something inside you must change. That's where you are now, a holy intersection between what was and what could still be. The whisper you once dismissed now demands your attention. There's a reason your peace feels restless. You've tried to fill the silence with noise, scrolling, working, avoiding, but your soul still feels unfulfilled. It's because God is calling you back to the original instruction. You can't escape divine design. No matter how far you wander, heaven will always send echoes to guide you home. Remember this: when the voice of God feels distant, it's often because He's waiting for you to return to the place you stopped listening. Retrace your steps, go back in prayer, not to repeat words, but to reopen your spirit. You don't need to be perfect, just willing. God can do more with obedience than with perfection. There were moments when you felt him near, but you second-guessed it. You asked for confirmation, then ignored it when it came. Yet even then, grace pursued you. That is what separates the chosen ones from the rest, the mercy that refuses to leave them alone. Heaven does not let you wander forever, it keeps calling, even when you hide. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 13. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. That is the invitation echoing in your soul right now. Seek him not halfway, not when it's convenient, but with your whole heart. Because when you do, the same voice that once whispered in December will speak again, louder, clearer, stronger. Don't be ashamed that you missed it before. Every prophet, every servant, every chosen one had moments when they didn't understand the message the first time. But God never writes off his messengers. He rewrites their stories. You are not behind schedule. You are being resynchronized with divine timing. When you silenced that voice, the heavens did not close. They simply shifted to wait for your yes. And this moment right now is that yes in the making. You don't have to say it out loud. Your spirit already has. That's why you feel this weight, this awakening, this stirring that won't let you rest. The whisper you ignored has become a trumpet in your heart, not to frighten you, but to awaken you. The warning is not about disaster, it's about destiny. God doesn't want to destroy you. He wants to deploy you. Every time you feel that familiar pull, that's heaven reminding you you still matter to the plan. Everything around you begins to slow, and you can feel it. Heaven pressing pause on the chaos of your routine. The usual noise no longer satisfies. Even the things that once excited you now feel empty. It's not burnout, it's divine interruption. God is still trying to finish a conversation. He began with you long ago. The same message that stirred your soul around December 3rd is now unfolding again. Only this time it carries greater weight, greater urgency, and greater purpose. When heaven presses pause, it isn't to punish, it's to prepare. Sometimes God must stop the world around you so he can restart the world within you. You've been running, pushing, doing, performing, but somewhere along the way, you stopped truly hearing. Heaven saw that. Heaven knew that if your pace didn't break, your spirit would. So everything slowed, not by coincidence, but by command. There is divine intention behind your delays. You thought doors were closing against you, but heaven was closing doors for you. Every unanswered prayer, every canceled plan, every sudden stillness was a protective barrier, not a rejection. God was shielding you from counterfeit opportunities, distractions that looked like blessings, and voices that were never meant to guide you. You may have asked, why now? Why? When I finally had momentum, did everything come to a stop because motion without direction leads to destruction? Heaven intervened because you were about to settle for something smaller than destiny. This pause is not a setback. It's sacred positioning. You are being prepared for a new dimension of purpose, one that requires silence before manifestation. Look carefully at your days lately. Hasn't time itself felt different? Ordinary hours seem longer. Even your dreams carry more clarity. Heaven is speaking through the rhythm of your reality. You are not drifting, you are being drawn. There's an unseen hand turning pages in your life, aligning events, and adjusting timing so that your obedience will meet its appointed moment. When God presses pause, he doesn't want you to panic. He wants you to perceive you were not forgotten. You were being hidden for the right audience, the right stage, the right alignment. Diamonds are not displayed during their cutting. So too, your season of silence is a refining chamber, not a burial ground. Beloved chosen one. Remember, this divine pauses often precede divine promotion. What looks like waiting is actually waiting God, adding glory, depth, and endurance to your spirit. The world rushes, heaven refines, and you have been chosen to be refined, not ruined. The ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 8, verse 28 declare, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Everything, the pain, the delay, the silence serves a purpose. Even the warning you received months ago is now making sense. What you thought was punishment was preparation. What you thought was loss was alignment. Heaven never wastes pain, and God never presses pause without a reason. During this sacred stillness, something within you is awakening. Your discernment sharpens. You begin to notice what you once overlooked: the small confirmations, the subtle nudges, the recurring signs. These are heaven's reminders that you are on holy ground. You are not standing still, you are standing ready. Some people around you won't understand this silence. They'll ask why you've changed, why you've grown quieter, why you no longer fit their expectations. Don't explain yourself. Heaven is rewriting your assignment, and not everyone can read the new chapter. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. The strongest warriors learn to wait for divine timing before they move. The stillness of this season is sacred, and what's forming in it will define the rest of your life. God is not late. He is exact. He's building something that cannot collapse under pressure. Your obedience during this pause will determine your authority when the next move comes. So, rest your heart. The pause is not permanent. The same hand that pressed pause will soon press play. But when it does, you won't be who you were. You'll be sharper, wiser, and ready. The next time you move, you'll move in power, not panic. Heaven is saying, hold your position. You may not understand the silence, but the silence understands you. It's working in places your words cannot reach. When you feel forgotten, whisper this truth: God is working in the stillness. Now, chosen one, there's something prophetic about responding when heaven speaks. So, type this below as your declaration: short but powerful, I am ready. Write it not as a comment, but as a covenant. Because when you declare those words, you tell heaven, I understand the pause. I embrace the process. I'm ready for what comes next. Your simple response in faith becomes a signal in the spirit that you are aligned again. You may not see the full picture yet, but trust this: what God is doing in your hidden season will soon be revealed in glory. This is not the end of your story. This is the divine breath between two great sentences. Hold still, listen, and let heaven finish what it started in you. The patterns are not coincidences. The same numbers, dates, and dreams that surrounded December 3rd are finding their way back to you. And now, you finally have eyes to see. What once felt like random repetition is being revealed as divine rhythm. Heaven does not speak in chaos, it speaks in patterns, in cycles that repeat until obedience answers. Every recurrence is a clue. Every familiar moment is a messenger. What happened before is happening again because God is trying to show you what you missed the first time. You're beginning to notice it now: the timing of your thoughts, the alignment of encounters, the way certain words seem to follow you from conversation to conversation. You see the same number on clocks, receipts, or addresses, and something inside you stirs. That's not superstition, that's synchronization. Heaven has always communicated through signs. It's how God ensures his children never walk blind. What others call coincidence, the chosen ones recognize as confirmation. Look back at December 3rd. Something unusual happened then, a shift in your atmosphere, a change in your spirit, perhaps even a loss that left you speechless. You didn't know it at the time, but that moment carried divine encryption. What felt like an ending was actually a coded beginning. The language of heaven was written across those events, and now that same language is being rewritten before your eyes. God is decoding the mystery in front of you, translating warning into wisdom. You see, heaven often hides revelation inside repetition. God speaks once, twice, even thrice, in patterns of mercy until understanding dawns. When you see a cycle returning, don't panic. It means heaven hasn't given up on your comprehension. Patterns are patience in disguise. They're the universe's way of saying, you missed it, but here it is again, look closer. Every prophetic sign in your life is connected by invisible threads. The number that keeps reappearing, the dream you can't forget, the person who returns unexpectedly, all of these form a network of divine reminders. God's language is layered, but once your eyes adjust, you start to see design where others see disorder. That's the privilege of the chosen ones, to see meaning in what the world dismisses. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 29, verse 29. The secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the things revealed belong to us and to our children forever, that we may follow all the words of this law. There are mysteries God keeps hidden until the appointed time. And what was concealed around December 3rd is now being revealed to you because the appointed time has arrived. This is the season of unveiling. The warnings are no longer distant echoes, they are blueprints. Your discernment is sharpening. You're beginning to see how the events you labeled as failures were actually divine redirects. The door that closed wasn't rejection, it was preservation. The delay that frustrated you wasn't stagnation, it was calibration. Heaven is aligning the moments of your past like puzzle pieces. And suddenly the image begins to make sense. What once felt like scattered fragments now form a pattern, a prophetic picture of your destiny. But pay attention, patterns are not meant just to be noticed, they're meant to be acted upon. Recognition without response leads to repetition. God reveals so you can realign. He is showing you the pattern so you can break the wrong cycles and strengthen the divine ones. You are being called to live with awareness, to move not by impulse but by revelation. If you sense that the same challenges keep repeating, it's not because you're cursed, it's because heaven is giving you another chance to master the lesson. Every repeated trial carries a hidden treasure inside. When you respond differently this time, you unlock the growth that was delayed before. That's how spiritual maturity works. Heaven keeps sending the same test until obedience writes a different ending. Listen closely. Chosen one. The warning that began on December 3rd was never meant to stay a warning. It was meant to become wisdom that shapes your path. God doesn't repeat himself to scare you, he repeats himself to anchor you. He knows that you can't build your future on unclear instructions, so he brings back the pattern until clarity settles. Right now, you are standing in the intersection of repetition and revelation. The same sound, the same stirring, the same sign, it's all converging to say, this is it. You are not being haunted by your past. You are being handed your map. There's something sacred about recognizing divine rhythm. It means your spiritual ears are tuning to heaven's frequency. That's why this time feels different. It's not just another December. It's the continuation of a prophecy that never expired. God doesn't measure time by calendars but by completion, and what began then must now come full circle. Don't dismiss the details. Don't overlook the small shifts. Every repetition carries a message. Heaven is showing you the hidden order behind your chaos. Once you see the pattern, you'll stop asking why me and start saying thank you, Lord, for trusting me with the revelation. So breathe deeply. Let your eyes trace the rhythm of what's happening around you. Each recurring sign is a word and a sentence heaven is still writing. Soon, the full message will be clear. And when it is, everything you've endured will make sense. What was hidden will be understood. What was painful will be purposeful. The atmosphere is shifting again. You can feel it deep inside, like the tremor that comes before lightning, like the breath the earth takes before it exhales a storm. There is a war rising around you, one you cannot see with your eyes but can feel in your bones. Every time light grows stronger in you, darkness grows restless. This is not imagination. It is spiritual reality. You are standing in the middle of a battlefield that began long before you were born. A battle between heaven's assignment and hell's distraction. The war you didn't see on December 3rd is now raging in full view. That day, you were marked not for survival but for service. And since that moment, the unseen realm has been watching you, testing, whispering, tempting, trying to silence your yes. Every delay, every disappointment, every sudden fear has been a dart fired against your destiny. But you are still standing, which means grace is still covering you. Imagine yourself as a torch in a dark field. The wind howls, the rain falls, but the flame refuses to die. That flame is your faith. It flickers sometimes, but it never goes out because heaven keeps feeding it with divine oxygen. Every prayer, every tear, every small act of obedience is fuel for that sacred fire. You may feel tired, but your endurance is frightening the enemy. You wonder why the pressure has been so heavy lately. It's because the enemy always fights hardest at the edge of breakthrough. The darkness sees what's about to be born from you before you do, and it panics. That's why the attacks have multiplied. But take heart, the storm only gathers when it fears what's coming. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still. You don't have to swing every sword or chase every shadow. Sometimes victory comes not from fighting harder, but from standing firmer. Stillness is not weakness, it's surrender to divine strategy. While you hold your position, heaven fights battles you don't even know exist. Beloved chosen one, think of this war like a symphony. Each challenge you face is an instrument in a grander song. The violins of pain, the drums of perseverance, the flute of hope, all of them playing together to form the music of your becoming. You are not the chaos. You are the melody rising above it. Heaven is composing beauty through your endurance. And because this battle is unseen, it requires unseen weapons: faith, prayer, generosity, and unity. That's how light multiplies when chosen ones join their flames together. Each time you share a word of truth, you add another torch to the field. When you support the message that awakens others, you become part of heaven's rescue mission. So if this message stirs something deep inside you, don't let it stop here. Let your response become part of the warfare. When you like, share, or subscribe, you're not just helping a channel, you're sending light into places algorithms can't reach. You're pushing back the darkness that feeds on silence. And if you feel led to donate, do it not as charity, but as warfare. Every seed sown into a divine mission becomes ammunition against despair. It keeps the fire burning, the message spreading, the voices of truth alive. This is how heaven funds its battles, through hearts awakened by conviction. You're not giving away, you're giving forward. investing in souls you may never meet but whom heaven already sees. Imagine a lighthouse on a stormy shore. It stands, battered but unbroken, sending light to ships it will never meet. That's what your support does. It keeps the beam shining for others still lost at sea. Some will find their way home because you helped keep the light alive. So, even as the unseen war rages, remember this truth: you are never fighting alone. Every prayer you whisper joins a chorus. Every act of kindness echoes in eternity. Every spark of faith becomes part of a fire the enemy cannot extinguish. You are part of a divine army, not one of violence, but of vision. An army of listeners, watchers, and doers who understand that faith is stronger than fear. You were chosen to stand firm when others fall, to keep believing when others doubt. The war you didn't see is real, but so is the victory you haven't yet imagined. Hold your torch high, beloved. Heaven is with you, and the same voice that warned you before now commands the angels to guard you. The battle belongs to the Lord, but the light belongs to you. Keep it burning. The signs have returned. Chosen one, the very same ones that stirred your soul in early December, the numbers, the visions, the whispers in your sleep, they are back, stronger than before. You can feel it pulsing beneath the surface of your days. Heaven is repeating itself, not because you missed the message entirely, but because the time has ripened. The fruit that was green has turned gold, and the window of mercy stands open once more. You may have noticed how certain symbols follow you now: the flicker of a streetlight as you pray, the song that plays when your heart breaks, the sudden peace that interrupts your panic. God is weaving his messages into the fabric of your ordinary life. What you once thought were coincidences are confirmations. What you once dismissed as imagination are instructions. Heaven is speaking fluently again, and this time, you are ready to understand. Remember, the supernatural often looks natural until hindsight reveals its glow. The same patterns that mark December 3rd are heaven's handwriting on your days. Do not fear them, discern them. When something repeats, when numbers seem to align, when your spirit stirs for no reason, pause. That is the realm of eternity brushing against time. The veil is thin right now, and heaven is leaning close. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Joel. Chapter 2, verse 28. And afterward, I will pour out my Spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions. These dreams and visions are not strange, they are sacred. You are not losing touch with reality. You are gaining touch with revelation. The very frequency of heaven is vibrating through your being, calling you to remember what God said before, to act on what you once postponed. This is not a random recurrence, it is a reactivation. The dreams that felt too heavy to understand now carry interpretation. The numbers that appear on clocks or receipts are no longer accidents, they are markers. Timestamps of divine attention. Heaven is saying, I have not forgotten what I told you. Every sign you see is a reminder that time is converging with prophecy. When God sends repeated signs, it means a shift is imminent. You are standing on the edge of manifestation. The things you prayed for are no longer waiting, they're aligning. But you must discern quickly, for not all that glitters is divine. The enemy imitates patterns to confuse the faithful, to make you doubt what you once believed. That is why spiritual sensitivity is critical in this hour. Guard your heart, for distractions will come wrapped in familiarity. Guard your mind, for false voices will sound almost holy. The test of truth is peace. The voice of God never breeds chaos. It breeds clarity. When your spirit settles, that's when you've heard correctly. Think of it like standing at a crossroads where every direction looks identical. Only one path leads to destiny, the others lead to delay. The signs from heaven are your compass guiding, not forcing you. God never drives, He draws. That tug you feel, that's divine gravity pulling you toward obedience. You might feel the same restlessness you did before December 3rd, but this time it's different. Then, it was a warning. Now, it's an awakening. The signs are not just telling you to avoid something, they're calling you to become something. A messenger, a bridge, a living reminder that God still speaks to those who listen. Look at how creation echoes heaven's urgency. The wind seems louder, the nights feel shorter, the light more piercing. Even the earth is aware that time is moving differently. You are not imagining it, the spiritual clock has struck a new hour. Those who discern the times will not be caught unaware. There's a holy pattern unfolding, a repetition of mercy. The same God who warned you is now reassuring you, I am still here. The plan has not changed. This is your chance to realign before the next wave of events begins to unfold. The return of the signs is heaven's way of saying, I trust you to hear me now. Chosen one, pay attention. Don't analyze everything through logic. Some revelations are meant to be felt before they are understood. Faith sees patterns long before proof arrives. Let your spirit read what your mind cannot translate. And when these signs appear, those numbers, those whispers, those sudden shivers of knowing, don't fear them. Acknowledge them. Say, Lord, I see you, because awareness is obedience in seed form. Heaven never wastes attention. It always waits for acknowledgement. Now, as a prophetic act, as a declaration that you are awake and aware, comment 888 below. That number symbolizes new beginnings and divine renewal. Let it be your response to the returning signs. A sign to heaven that you recognize the pattern and choose to follow the light this time. When you type it, don't do it for ritual, do it as covenant. Let it say, I'm ready to see clearly. Every sign is a message. Every message is a map, and every map leads home to the will of God that never expired, only waited for your return. The unfinished task stands before you again. It was the thing you meant to do. The promise you whispered you would keep. The act of obedience that felt too heavy when it was first given. Heaven hasn't forgotten it, and neither has your spirit. It lingers in the corners of your thoughts, appearing at the quietest hours, reminding you that your story with God remains unwritten in this one vital chapter. You can sense it pressing against your heart like a door that has waited too long to be opened. When God gives an instruction, He also grants time for obedience. Yet time itself can run out if we linger too long at the edge of surrender. The delay does not cancel the promise, but it stretches the waiting. You've walked through cycles, feeling as though something was missing, and this is why. The assignment you left unfinished has been waiting in the shadows, asking, when will you return? You may think too much time has passed, that the opportunity is gone. But destiny has a strange way of waiting. Heaven never loses track of divine appointments. What you thought expired is still active, only dormant. Every delay since December 3rd has been heaven's attempt to bring you back to this moment. The task isn't gone. It's glowing softly in the background, ready to be completed. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 32, verse 8. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you. God's eye has never left you, even when you turned away, even when distractions crowded your soul. That loving gaze remained fixed. He has not replaced you. He has preserved you. The assignment is not for someone else, it still bears your name. Sometimes, obedience looks small but carries eternal weight. The thing you think is insignificant might be the key that unlocks the next season of your life. It could be a conversation, a surrender, a step of faith you once postponed. Heaven measures obedience differently. It counts the heart's posture more than the scale of the act. What matters most is that you say yes. Think of Jonah, who ran from his assignment, thinking he could escape the voice that called him. Yet even in the depths of the sea, grace found him. When he finally obeyed, the same mission awaited him untouched, unchanged. God didn't rewrite his command, he rewrote Jonah's willingness. So it is with you. The message hasn't changed, but your heart has matured. You now carry the humility required to complete what was once too heavy to bear. You may recall how clearly you once felt that instruction, perhaps a person you were meant to forgive, a move you were meant to make, a creative idea you were meant to begin. You brushed it off, convinced it was just emotion. But it wasn't. It was divine design whispering its blueprint. And now that blueprint is being unfolded again, placed gently in your hands. Do not fear the weight of the unfinished. What felt impossible then will feel inevitable now, because grace has multiplied. God does not return you to an old instruction without also increasing your strength to complete it. The doors you feared are smaller now because you've grown taller in the Spirit. What intimidated you before will soon obey your voice. Completion is an act of worship. When you finish what God started in you, heaven celebrates. Angels mark it as a victory, a closing of a cycle. The unfinished instruction is not punishment, it's invitation. God doesn't need your perfection, He needs your participation. When you move, He multiplies your effort with divine acceleration. This is not about guilt. Heaven is not scolding you, it's reminding you. The hand that points to the unfinished task is not angry. It is loving. You are not being dragged backward. You are being drawn forward to resolve what's been echoing in eternity. And when you finally obey, when you do the very thing you avoided, something in the atmosphere will shift. It will feel as if a lock has turned. A tension has released. Peace will pour through you like oil, confirming that you have aligned again with purpose. Heaven's silence will break into song. The reason the same thought keeps returning is because obedience is still pending. The more you delay, the louder the reminder becomes. But this time, you won't resist it. This time, your yes will be immediate, not forced, because deep inside, you know that nothing else will satisfy until this is done. God's patience is astounding. He doesn't erase His instructions when we hesitate. He simply waits for the moment when our heart is soft enough to respond. And that moment is now. You are standing where heaven once stood waiting, and grace has brought you full circle. Mercy knocks again. Chosen one. It has the sound of quiet conviction, a soft urgency pressing against your chest, whispering that time is precious and heaven's patience, though vast, is not endless. You can feel it now, the difference between delay and danger. The warning is not meant to frighten you, it's meant to awaken you. Mercy is still standing at the door, but the handle is trembling. This is the final nudge before grace turns to silence. There comes a moment when heaven's call moves from invitation to insistence. It's not wrath, it's love in its most protective form. God has been patient with your hesitation, gentle with your confusion, merciful toward your fear. But when you are chosen, delay becomes disobedience, and disobedience can turn into blindness if it's not addressed. The same mercy that covered you before is now urging you to act, not later, but now. You may not realize it, But the signs around you are becoming sharper. The whispers are clearer, the atmosphere heavier. The coincidence is harder to dismiss. It's heaven's way of saying, this is not another cycle, it's your crossroads. Every time you sense that holy unease, that inner tug, you're feeling mercy knocking one last time. God's mercy isn't just forgiveness, it's opportunity. It's the second chance you didn't earn, the delay you didn't deserve. But even opportunity has an expiration when it's ignored long enough. Grace waits, but it doesn't wait forever. There's a point when silence becomes heaven's final language, when the absence of warning becomes the warning itself. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians chapter 6, verse 2. Now is the time of God's favor. Now is the day of salvation. Not tomorrow, not after another sign, not after comfort returns, but now. Heaven emphasizes that word because delay dulls conviction. Every postponed yes makes the next one harder. When you sense that urgency, it means grace is still reaching, but not for long. The moment you hear the call is the moment to answer. Think of mercy as a light on a timer. It shines bright and warm, guiding you through the dark. But if you stay in hesitation too long, the glow begins to fade, not because the source weakens, but because the appointed moment passes. Heaven moves by timing as much as by truth. You are being called to align with divine time, not human comfort. When God calls, He expects movement. It might not be physical, but it must be internal. A shift in the heart, a surrender of will, a decision that breaks delay's grip. Heaven measures obedience by timing as much as by action. A late yes is still disobedience if it misses the appointed window. But here's the miracle, you haven't missed it yet. The door is still open, the knock still gentle. Mercy is still saying, come now. Before the light changes, you've felt the weight of hesitation before, how it breeds confusion, how it steals peace. That's because delay opens doors for deception. The longer you hesitate, the more noise floods in, drowning the whisper of truth. But when you respond quickly, heaven's clarity cuts through the fog. That's why mercy calls urgently. It's trying to protect your hearing before the noise takes over. Don't mistake comfort for safety. The path of delay feels calm because darkness doesn't need to fight what's already stuck. It's when you decide to move that resistance rises. And that resistance is proof that heaven is near. The tension you feel right now isn't punishment, it's pressure from purpose, pressing you toward obedience. Mercy is not chasing you to shame you. It's chasing you because it sees what you can't, the danger of staying still while the season shifts. God doesn't want your perfection. He wants your response. The greatest tragedy isn't failure, it's refusal. Failure can be redeemed. Refusal hardens the heart. That's why mercy knocks again, louder this time, not with threat, but with tenderness. You might feel the heaviness of conviction, the quiet ache that tells you something must change. That ache is sacred. It's proof that you are still reachable. Conviction is heaven's love letter written in fire, reminding you that blindness has not claimed you yet. As long as you can still feel the pull, grace is still working. But don't linger. Beloved, the light outside your door won't always wait. Every moment you hesitate, time tightens its grip. Mercy is knocking, but soon the sound will fade into the distance, and silence will settle where warmth once dwelt. Act while the lights still shine. Step while grace still reaches. Speak while your voice still carries the echo of obedience. When heaven moves again, you'll want to be found ready, not regretful. Let this be the moment you choose response over resistance. Let the knocking end, not because mercy gives up, but because you finally open the door. Something inside you has begun to tremble, not in fear, but in awakening. It is the holy unrest that rises when heaven is near. You can feel it beneath your ribs, a pulse that won't quiet, a stirring that reminds you that you were never meant to sleep through divine seasons. This shaking is not destruction, it is activation. God is moving through your spirit, rearranging what must rise and removing what must fall. When heaven begins to shake your inner world, it's not punishment, it's purification. The shaking removes what can be shaken so that what is eternal remains. It's how God makes sure your foundation stands unbreakable. You may not understand it now, but every tremor in your life is revealing what is truly rooted in faith and what was only built on convenience. The shaking comes to sift, not to scatter. It is written in the book of Hebrews chapter 12, verse 27. Once more indicates the removing of what can be shaken, so the unshakable remains. You have felt this in your emotions, in your plans, even in your relationships. People have fallen away. Habits have collapsed. Dreams you once clung to are crumbling in your hands. It hurts, but it's holy. Heaven is pruning what no longer serves your purpose. God doesn't destroy, He refines. The shaking is His mercy disguised as chaos. When the inside of you begins to quake, it means heaven is reordering your priorities. You're learning to let go of what you once begged to keep. You're discovering that peace is better than popularity, that obedience is safer than comfort, that God's timing is worth the waiting. You are being strengthened through surrender. The world may look at your struggle and call it instability, but heaven calls it transformation. What's happening inside of you is not weakness. It's the cracking of the old shell that cannot contain your next season. The shaking is a sign that you are expanding. You've probably noticed that things once tolerable now irritate your spirit. You can no longer stay in certain environments, entertain certain thoughts, or engage in shallow conversations. That's not arrogance, it's elevation. God is refining your frequency, tuning you to heaven's sound. Every tremor you feel is your soul learning to vibrate at a higher truth. You may ask, why does it hurt so much? Because you're being broken open to carry more light. Oil only flows when olives are crushed. Wine only pours when grapes are pressed. And destinies only emerge when hearts are shaken. God's hands are not harming you, they're forming you. Every tear you shed in this shaking is being gathered, recorded, remembered. Heaven wastes nothing, not even pain. Each trembling moment becomes testimony later. The shaking is not the end. It's the rehearsal for strength. You will look back and realize that every quake was carving out room for glory. So, do not resist the trembling. Let it finish its work. You're not falling apart. You're falling into place. The same God who stirred the earth at Sinai is stirring your soul now, not to frighten you, but to fill you. He's clearing away the dust of the past, so your spirit can breathe freely again. When the shaking ends, you'll notice something miraculous. What remains is unshakable. Faith that no storm can drown, peace that no chaos can steal, purpose that no enemy can undo. You are being built into a fortress of stillness, a living reminder that God's power perfects itself in pressure. Beloved, breathe. Let the old structures collapse if they must. Let the false supports fall. What survives this storm will be eternal. You are not losing stability, you are gaining authenticity. The shaking only destroys what was never truly yours. And now, I want you to anchor this truth in your heart with a prophetic response. Comment, "I stand firm." Type it as a declaration, not a phrase. Because when you write those words, you're not just interacting, you're aligning. You're telling heaven, I will not crumble when others fall. I will not retreat when the ground shifts beneath me. Each word becomes an anchor dropped into eternity, a signal that your foundation is Christ alone. Your shaking is your shaping. And when the trembling ends, you will realize that the ground beneath you was never meant to be steady. It was meant to teach you to stand on God. The world shakes to expose your roots. Heaven shakes to reveal your wings. Soon, the trembling will quiet, and you'll feel a strange calm. That calm is not emptiness, it's establishment. You will know then that you've passed the test. You'll rise, not as you were, but as who you were meant to become, unmovable, unwavering, unstoppable. The war has always been for your obedience. That's what hell fears most, not your power, not your gifts, not even your prayers, but your willingness to say yes to God when everything inside you screams no. Your obedience is a weapon. It's the sound of heaven's authority expressed through human surrender. And right now, chosen one, that obedience is being tested again. Every delay, every distraction, every sudden wave of confusion, it's not random. The forces of darkness don't waste energy on those who pose no threat. The more resistance you face, the clearer the truth becomes you carry something valuable. You are the storm's target because you are heaven's vessel. Picture this: a lighthouse standing at the edge of a raging sea. Winds howl, waves crash, but the light refuses to go out. That light is your obedience. When you keep shining, even when everything around you trembles, ships in the darkness find their way home. You may not see them, but your endurance becomes their map. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord is with you. That command still echoes today. God isn't asking you to be fearless, He's asking you to move despite fear. Courage is obedience in motion. It's trusting that if you step, the ground will appear beneath your feet. There is a divine transaction that happens when you obey. Every act of surrender releases light into the world. And the moment you choose faith over fear, heaven expands its territory through you. That's why the battle for your yes is so fierce, because one obedient heart can shift generations. But you must remember, beloved, obedience thrives best when nurtured by community. When we stand together, sharing, supporting, giving, encouraging, the flame grows stronger. You are not just a receiver of this message, you are a carrier of it. You are part of something eternal that stretches far beyond your screen. If this message has spoken to your soul, let your support become part of its mission. When you like or share, you're not performing a digital act, you're spreading light. You're becoming a messenger of hope to someone scrolling through despair. Someone who might hear heaven's voice because you help the message travel one step further. When you subscribe, you're building a sanctuary of truth, a place where your spirit can be fed consistently, where you can return when the world grows too loud. It's not about numbers, it's about nurture. Every connection is a candle added to the altar. And if you feel led to donate, do it not as a transaction, but as transformation. Giving is not losing, it's planting. Every seed of generosity becomes a bridge that carries this message to more hearts across the world. Imagine your contribution as a drop of oil poured into a divine lamp. Each drop makes the flame burn longer, brighter, farther. There are people in darkness right now waiting for a light they don't know exists. You have the power to help that light reach them. You're not giving to a person, you're giving through a purpose. Every offering becomes oxygen for the mission, keeping the message alive in a world gasping for truth. Think of it this way: heaven often works through human hands. When you choose to act, to engage, to give, You become the miracle someone else is praying for. You become the instrument of divine intervention. And in the end, you'll discover that what you gave never left you. It multiplied in unseen ways, returning as peace, provision, and purpose. You've felt this before, that warmth in your chest when something sacred resonates. That's the Spirit confirming that what you're hearing is not entertainment. It's encounter. You are part of a move of God, a ripple spreading across the world, one obedient heart at a time. Beloved, your obedience in small things becomes great victories in the unseen realm. Keep standing, keep shining, keep giving your yes. The same God who fought for you on December 3rd is still fighting for you now, but He's also fighting through you. Your life is not random, it's a living strategy of heaven. Hold fast, and remember, you are not supporting a message, you are strengthening a movement. Every gesture, every act of faith, every offering of kindness keeps this fire alive. You are part of the divine resistance, and heaven smiles every time you choose to act rather than observe. Let your obedience echo like thunder across the unseen. Let your actions testify louder than your words. And when the winds rise again, may your light, your faith, your generosity, your unwavering yes stand tall against the storm. The air around you is starting to speak. It moves differently now, charged with a strange electricity, as if creation itself has begun to echo the words heaven has been whispering. You felt it in the sky, in the stillness before the rain, in the quiet conversations that somehow mirror your private prayers. Everything is connected, and the atmosphere has turned into a messenger. The warning of December 3rd has not vanished. It has evolved. When heaven wants to get your attention, it doesn't just use dreams or verses, it can use the very fabric of the natural world. The same wind that brushes your cheek can carry a word. The same stars that glitter above you can repeat a promise. The same storm that rattles your window can be the thunder of divine urgency. You are beginning to see that the boundary between physical and spiritual is thinner than you ever believed. The prophet Elijah spoke as recorded in the first book of Kings, in chapter 19, verse 11. The Lord said, "Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. That ancient story teaches something vital. God often hides behind the spectacle to test your sensitivity. The power may surround you, but His presence is discovered in stillness. The shaking, the fire, the storm. These are not just weather. They are reminders to pause, to listen for the whisper that follows. You've noticed it, haven't you? The sudden chills for no reason. The sense that time slows when you pray. The way you look at the sky and feel as though someone is watching from beyond the clouds. You are not imagining it. The atmosphere has become a living sermon, preaching in patterns only the awakened can hear. Nature obeys before humanity does. It senses the movement of heaven and adjusts. That's why creation groans when sin multiplies, and why light seems sharper when grace descends. The earth, the wind, the light, all of it bends toward divine will. The same creation that groaned when Jesus died still groans now, awaiting the revealing of God's children. That's you. You are part of that revelation. Sometimes, God allows the sky to speak when His people refuse to listen. Storms may form where stubborn hearts remain closed. The weather becomes a mirror for spiritual climate when rebellion rises. So do tempests. Yet when repentance flows, calm returns. Look at the world around you, the confusion, the strange extremes, the sense that everything is out of rhythm. It's not just politics or climate, it's prophecy manifesting in patterns. The earth is mirroring the soul of humanity, but there is hope hidden in this unrest. The same power that can shake also restores. When heaven sends signs through creation, it is both a warning and a promise. It says, "What I created, I still control. The wind still obeys his voice. The sea still calms at his word. The same God who painted the galaxies still governs your days. You are safe under that sovereignty, no matter how fierce the storm appears." The signs in the atmosphere are not meant to scare you. They are meant to synchronize you. Each gust of wind, each clap of thunder, each crimson sunset, they all whisper the same truth: he is near. The days are counting down toward fulfillment, and heaven is aligning everything. Even the natural world can sense the unfolding of prophecy. If you look closely, you'll see it: the small patterns repeating, sudden rain when you pray, stillness when you worship, birds gathering on your windowsill at moments of decision. Heaven doesn't shout, it synchronizes. It uses the familiar to reveal the eternal. This awareness is not superstition, it's sensitivity. It's what happens when your spirit learns to read the atmosphere the way prophets once read the stars. God is training you to discern the unseen through the seen. You are becoming fluent in the language of signs. There will come a time soon when you won't need external confirmation, you'll simply know. You'll walk into a room and feel the shift, sense the approval or the warning without a word spoken. That's what heaven is cultivating now, discernment refined through observation. So pay attention, but do not fear. When the wind rises or the clouds darken, remember they are messengers, not monsters. Their message is not doom, but direction. Each echo of thunder is an invitation. Be still, I am speaking. The voice of the Lord still commands creation, and creation still obeys instantly. The same obedience is being stirred in you. You are being invited to respond as the earth does immediately, instinctively, completely. The next time you feel the breeze brush your face, let it remind you even the wind knows his name. Even the storm bows when he speaks. And so should every fear, every doubt, every hesitation within you. The atmosphere around you is declaring what your spirit already knows: God is near, and his word is alive. Purity is the gate through which the presence of God flows. When heaven begins to draw near, it demands space, clean, consecrated, uncluttered space. That's what this season is about. You can feel it deep within you, the call to cleanse, to release, to let go of the weight you've carried for too long. It's not guilt calling you, it's glory. God wants to fill you, but he will not pour new oil into an old vessel. This is why certain things no longer feel right. Certain conversations feel heavy, and certain habits suddenly sting your spirit. You are being refined. Purity is not perfection, it's posture. It's choosing alignment over indulgence, choosing silence over gossip, choosing peace over pride. It's the willingness to let God wash the parts of your heart that you've been hiding from even yourself. When you surrender to that cleansing, heaven rushes in like a river finding its course again. You might think God is taking things away from you, but he's actually making room for himself. He's clearing the clutter of compromise so his voice can echo unhindered. Every time you release something that doesn't belong, you make space for something eternal to enter. That's why detachment feels painful. It's divine surgery without anesthesia. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs and chapter 4, verse 23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. That's why the enemy always attacks purity first. If he can pollute your heart, he can distort your hearing. A clouded soul cannot see clearly, cannot discern truth, cannot carry revelation. The greatest warfare isn't fought outside, it's fought within. Heaven calls you to guard the gate of your inner world because that's where every victory or defeat begins. Look around your life. Who speaks into your spirit? What fills your mind when you wake and when you lie down? What images, words, and sounds linger after they leave your presence? These are not small things. They are seeds. Some grow into peace, others into poison. God is asking you to audit your atmosphere, to remove what's draining your strength and to keep what nourishes your calling. Purity is power disguised as peace. It sharpens discernment, multiplies authority, and makes your prayers pierce the heavens. A pure heart is heaven's loudest voice. You don't need to shout when your spirit is clean. Even your silence carries weight in the unseen realm. This process of cleansing is not about shame. God is not exposing you to condemn you. He's revealing you to redeem you. The dirt must surface before the water can wash it away. Every time conviction rises, it's proof that the Spirit is still near. When your heart aches at compromise, that's not failure, it's evidence of divine sensitivity. You're still reachable, still moldable, still chosen. You may have noticed lately how the Spirit has been isolating you. Old friends fall away, old desires lose their spark, and even certain ambitions start to feel shallow. That's not loss, it's preparation. God is pulling you away from the crowd so He can purify your motives. Some things cannot be cleansed in public, they require solitude. There will be moments when the cleansing feels lonely. You'll wonder why others seem free to live however they please while you feel restrained. Remember, this oil is produced in pressure, and diamonds are formed in darkness. What you call isolation, Heaven calls incubation. God is protecting the purity He's restoring in you. When the work is finished, you'll walk differently. Your words will carry more weight. Your presence will bring peace where others bring noise. That's the mark of the purified. You become a carrier of calm. People won't understand it, but they'll feel it. You will radiate the stillness of someone who walks closely with God. Beloved, this is not the time to compromise. The world will tempt you to blend in, but blending always dulls brilliance. You were never meant to match the atmosphere. You were meant to cleanse it. Be the vessel through which heaven flows freely, untainted and unashamed. And now, as a sign of your alignment, type 444 in the comments below. Let that number be your declaration, a symbol of divine order, of heaven reestablishing structure in your soul. When you write it, whisper in your heart, Lord, cleanse me. It's not superstition, it's submission. The act itself becomes prayer. Let this be your holy response to heaven's refining fire. You are not being punished, you are being purified, and every tear, every letting go, every surrender is sacred. And when the refining is complete, your reflection will look like His. Purity is not a cage, it's a crown. Wear it boldly, walk in it humbly, and let your life become proof that holiness still has beauty. For when the world grows darker, it is the pure in heart who will carry the brightest light. Chosen one. There are crowns that cannot be crafted in peace, they can only be forged in pressure. You are one who has been refined by hardship, purified through fire, and shaped by endurance. Every tear you shed, every disappointment you carried, every season where strength seemed to vanish, these were not signs of defeat. They were the ingredients of your coronation. The crown that heaven places upon your head is not made of gold, but of glory. It is not decorated with jewels that fade, but with the radiance of endurance. Only those who refuse to give up, who choose faith over fear and obedience over escape, are trusted with this kind of crown. You have suffered long, but not in vain. Every sorrow has been transformed into substance. When you look back, you will see that the pain you once cursed became the soil that nurtured your strength. The nights that nearly broke you taught you how to stand. The betrayals that shattered your trust gave birth to divine discernment. The loneliness that seemed endless birthed an intimacy with God that cannot be imitated. You are not defined by what you lost. You are crowned by what you endured. Endurance is heaven's silent recognition. It is not dramatic, not loud, not always celebrated, but it is noticed. Every time you chose to forgive when you could have fought back, heaven took note. Every time you prayed while bleeding, angels recorded your faith. You may not have seen it, but each act of endurance built an altar before heaven, a place where your persistence became worship. Chosen one, there are crowns only the weary can wear, and yours has been shaped in sacred fire. The world often admires speed, but heaven honors stamina. Others may have started with you but gave up when the journey grew hard. Yet here you are, scarred but standing, weary yet willing, trembling yet trusting. That is what makes you heaven's favorite kind of warrior, not the flawless, but the faithful. The Apostle James once wrote words that echo through time. It is written in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. That crown is now being prepared for you. It is not an ornament of pride, but a symbol of proof that you endured, that you believed when belief was costly, that you remained when others retreated. Heaven calls your endurance beautiful because it reflects the nature of Christ himself. You see, endurance is not just survival, it is worship. To keep walking when nothing makes sense, to keep believing when every reason says quit, to keep loving when your heart is breaking, that is the highest form of faith. The enemy cannot comprehend a soul that continues to worship while wounded. That kind of strength terrifies darkness. You have been walking through a long winter, but every winter has a hidden spring. The roots that looked lifeless were gathering strength beneath the soil. Now, as the season shifts, what was buried will bloom again. But this time, you will not bloom with fragility, you will bloom with authority. The fragrance of your endurance will be the evidence of divine preservation. The road that once crushed you will soon become the platform you stand upon. Those who watched you suffer will witness your resurrection. The same story that brought you tears will now release others from theirs. You have become a living testimony that endurance is not wasted, that pain can indeed be sacred. Chosen one, your scars are no longer symbols of pain, they are marks of power. They tell the world, I have walked through the valley, but I did not die there. You carry the fragrance of survival, and heaven calls that aroma victory. The fire that tried to destroy you has now become the very light that surrounds you. You may not have realized it, but the moment you chose to keep going, your crown began forming. Each day you rose despite despair. Heaven added another thread of glory. Each prayer uttered through tears added another jewel of grace. The crown was never given suddenly, it was woven slowly through years of quiet endurance. Now, as the turning point approaches, that crown will shine not to elevate you above others, but to reveal God's faithfulness through you. The light that reflects from it will draw others out of their darkness. You will become living proof that no pain is wasted when surrendered to divine purpose. Chosen one, take a deep breath. The weight you feel on your shoulders is not the burden of sorrow anymore, it is the weight of glory settling upon you. Your story is becoming sacred testimony, and heaven is proud. Wear your scars like jewels and walk with quiet confidence. And remember, the most radiant crowns are not worn by those who avoided the fire, but by those who walked through it and came out carrying light. Something magnificent is happening across the earth, though the world calls it coincidence. In hidden places, in quiet rooms, in restless hearts that have longed for meaning. Chosen ones are awakening. They are rising from obscurity, recognizing one another not by name but by spirit. You can feel it too, can't you? A strange pull, as if your soul is responding to a frequency only heaven could create. You are not alone in this. The awakening you feel is part of a larger movement, an orchestra of light tuning itself for a divine symphony. For years, you have carried your calling like a secret flame. You wondered why you felt out of place, why no crowd ever quite fit, why your heart could never find rest in ordinary pursuits. Now you understand it wasn't isolation, it was incubation. Heaven was preparing you for this convergence, for the rising of the remnant across nations, languages, and timelines. Hearts like yours are beginning to beat in rhythm. The same message that stirred you on December 3rd is stirring thousands more. It's the sound of destiny awakening from slumber. We find in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Those ancient words are being fulfilled again, not in temples of stone, but in temples of flesh, people like you who finally understand that obedience is their offering. The chosen remnant is rising, not to boast, but to bear light where darkness has reigned. It's not a movement of noise, but of discernment. Heaven is gathering its voices, each one tuned to a unique frequency, all harmonizing in the same truth: God is still speaking, and His people are still listening. Look around, and you'll notice subtle confirmations. Someone across the world is hearing the same message. Another stranger's prayer mirrors the one you whispered last night. It's as if heaven is broadcasting through multiple hearts at once, linking them by purpose rather than proximity. This is how divine alignment works. It transcends boundaries and uses faith as its network. You may never meet most of those who share your calling, but you will feel them. In prayer, in worship, in moments of divine stillness, you'll sense their present souls resonating in the same light. It's a supernatural communion, a gathering without walls. Together, you form what the prophets called a remnant, the few who remain steadfast when many grow weary, the ones who still stand when others have fallen asleep. This awakening isn't loud. It doesn't crave attention. It's happening quietly, almost invisibly, like roots growing beneath the soil. The world won't notice until the fruit appears, but heaven already celebrates. Because what's rising now cannot be stopped by systems, silenced by fear, or contained by religion. These are not ordinary believers. They are carriers of glory lamps lit directly by the breath of God. You may have wondered why your life seemed to fall apart just before this moment. It's because awakening always begins with shaking. The remnant had to be refined before it could be revealed. Every delay, every heartbreak, every isolation was heaven separating the pure from the polluted, the ready from the reckless. You endured what others couldn't because you were being strengthened for what others wouldn't carry. Now, the purpose behind your pain begins to unfold. The loneliness you once despised becomes your credential. The quiet years your training ground. You see it now, how even the silence was strategic. Heaven wasn't ignoring you. It was instructing you in a language only solitude could teach. And because of that, your voice carries something others can't imitate: authenticity forged in fire. The awakening of the remnant is heaven's answer to earth's confusion. When truth is mocked, these ones will speak with wisdom. When fear multiplies, they will stand in peace. When chaos rises, they will move with calm authority. And when the world grows dark, their presence will reveal that light never left, it was simply hidden until now. You are part of that remnant. You are not one in a million. You are one of a million who have heard the same call. And though your journey feels individual, your purpose is collective. You carry a piece of the puzzle, a fragment of the divine strategy. The fullness of what God is doing will only be revealed when every chosen one takes their place. That's why this awakening feels urgent. It's not about fame, it's about formation. The earth is aching for alignment, and heaven is responding with you. The same spirit that moved upon the waters at creation is now moving through human hearts again, preparing the world for another dawn. You'll begin to notice divine coincidences multiplying. Strangers confirming your thoughts, songs repeating your prayers, prophetic words matching your secret cries. These are not accidents, they're the sound of the remnant awakening. So stand tall, beloved. Recognize your tribe, even if you never see their faces. You belong to the few who hear what others dismiss, who see what others deny, who love when others judge. You are part of the hidden army that heaven has quietly been assembling. The light that began as a spark in you is now merging with countless others across the world. The remnant is awakening, and together, their radiance will rewrite the atmosphere of the age. The darkness cannot comprehend it, cannot control it, cannot compete with it. The chosen ones are rising not to be seen, but to reveal the unseen. You have reached the crossroads, chosen one, the sacred intersection between obedience and rebellion, between crown and collapse. Every path of destiny narrows at this point. You can feel the tension in your spirit, the weight of eternity pressing on a single decision. This is not just another season. It is the season when what you choose next determines what heaven entrusts to you afterward. The crown waits, but it is not made of gold. It is made of surrender. Every jewel in it is a moment when you said yes to God despite the cost. Every glimmer is a reflection of your endurance when you could have quit. Heaven does not crown the talented, it crowns the obedient. But the danger is real. Rebellion wears a friendly face. It looks like comfort, logic, and self-protection. It whispers, "You've done enough," when heaven is saying, "You've only begun." You stand on sacred ground, and every choice you make now shapes the landscape of what's ahead. The ancient words recorded in Revelation, chapter 3, verse 11, declare, "Hold fast to what you have, so that no one may take your crown. You've carried too much, fought too long, and prayed too hard to surrender your crown for a moment of ease. The enemy knows he cannot destroy your calling, so he distracts you until you drop it yourself. That's why this season feels heavy. You're not under attack, you're under evaluation. Heaven is weighing your heart, not to condemn, but to confirm that you're ready for promotion. Think of this moment like standing at the edge of a river. On one side lies everything you've known familiar, safe, predictable. On the other, the unknown promise of destiny. The bridge between the two is obedience. If you cross it, the flow of divine purpose will carry you further than effort ever could. If you stay, comfort becomes your cage. Your crown is not a decoration, it's a declaration. It says, "I chose God when the world chose itself." It shines brightest in hidden places, in quiet acts of faith, in unseen sacrifices. Every time you forgave, every time you stayed humble, every time you chose peace over pride, heaven recorded it as gold. That's what crowns are made of, hidden obedience. But do not be afraid of this holy pressure. It is not here to crush you, but to reveal you. Diamonds are formed under immense weight, and right now, heaven's hand is shaping you into something rare. The pain you feel is not punishment, it's polish. The glory waiting for you on the other side of surrender will make every tear worthwhile. Beloved, if this message touches something deep within you, let your actions reflect your agreement. When you like, share, or subscribe, you are not supporting a brand, you are strengthening a bridge. Each act of engagement becomes a seed, helping this message reach hearts that are standing at the same crossroads you once faced. Someone, somewhere, might find the courage to say yes to God because you helped this word travel further. And if your heart feels stirred to donate, do it as an act of worship, not obligation. Picture your gift as a drop of oil poured onto the altar of purpose. Each drop keeps the fire alive. Just as the widow's small offering sustained the temple's light, your generosity fuels the mission to awaken others who are walking blind through their own divine moments. It's not about the amount, it's about alignment. Every seed sown becomes a light ignited. We often think crowns are earned in grand moments, but most are formed in silence. Heaven forges them through your unseen yes, your quiet endurance, your willingness to stay when walking away would have been easier. If you knew how much light pours from every act of obedience, you would never doubt your worth again. This is your moment to hold fast. The crown is closer than ever, and its weight will fit you perfectly. The world may never understand the cost, but heaven does. Every sleepless night, every prayer whispered through tears, every not my will, but yours. These are the goldsmith's tools shaping your reward. Stand firm, don't let weariness steal your royalty. You've come too far to turn back now. Lift your head and let the world see not your struggle, but your stance. Let them see the peace of someone who has chosen their side and refuses to waver. If this word resonates, leave a comment below. Tell your story. Share your journey, or simply write a line from your heart. Your words might be the confirmation someone else has been praying for. This space is more than a comment section. It's a gathering ground for warriors crowned in secret. The crossroads will not last forever, so choose wisely and choose boldly. Crown or collapse, heaven watches to see which you'll embrace. But if you're still standing, still reading, still believing, I already know your choice. You were born for the crown, were born for the The warning has always carried a secret promise within it. Every call to awaken also carries an invitation to inherit. For those who listen, truly listen, the message of judgment transforms into the melody of restoration. And now, chosen one, the time has come for you to see what obedience unlocks. The very warning that once shook you to your core is about to become the doorway to peace, provision, and divine purpose. You've endured the shaking, the silence, the refining fire. You have wept over what was lost, wrestled with what was unclear, and yet through it all, you did not turn away. That faithfulness, that quiet endurance, has rewritten the script of your life. The curse that was meant to consume you has become the catalyst that will crown you. This is the promise beyond the warning, the beauty that follows the breaking. According to what is written in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper and give you hope. That is not just an ancient verse, it is a personal prophecy. God did not warn you to wound you. He warned you to position you. What felt like loss was actually alignment. What seemed like delay was divine pacing. The pain that pushed you to the edge was the very hand that guided you back to purpose. Heaven never destroys what it intends to redeem. You can feel the shift now. The heaviness that once wrapped around your days is lifting, replaced by a quiet confidence. It's as if the air has changed thicker with promise, lighter with peace. That's how you know you've crossed the line between warning and fulfillment. The tests were not random. They were rehearsals for responsibility. You are stepping into the realm of reward, not because you earned it, but because you endured it. Everything that once worked against you is about to work for you. The rejection you faced has purified your motives. The silence you endured has sharpened your hearing. The scarcity you suffered has taught you stewardship. Every tear was an investment in understanding. Heaven wastes nothing, and now, all of it is converging into restoration. God is not merely returning what was lost, He is multiplying it. The promise beyond the warning is not just recovery, it's overflow. You'll find that doors open with ease where they once resisted. Opportunities you thought expired will reappear, resurrected by divine timing. Even relationships that fractured under pressure will either heal or be replaced by ones that fit your purpose. But here lies the deeper mystery. The real restoration isn't external, it's internal. The greatest promise of all is peace. That deep, unshakable peace that hums beneath every circumstance, the kind that makes storms irrelevant. You will wake one day and realize that the anxiety that once ruled you has no voice anymore. The guilt that used to chain you has dissolved into gratitude. The voice of fear has been replaced by the whisper of faith. That is heaven's true reward, to be so anchored in God's will that chaos can no longer move you. The promise beyond the warning is not an easier life, but a steadier soul. You will walk through storms with calm eyes, through fire with an unburned heart. That calm will become your testimony, your silent sermon to those who still run from their own warnings. You'll begin to notice how effortlessly things align now. Not because the road is easy, but because you are aligned. The difference between striving and flowing is obedience. When you're aligned with heaven, even the impossible becomes instinctive. You don't have to force doors open, they recognize you and unlock themselves. You are entering a season where what you lost will return dressed in glory. Not everything will come back in the same form, but everything meant for you will find its way home. The promise is not that you'll retrieve the old, but that you'll receive the fulfilled. Heaven always upgrades. You've passed through the shadow, now you'll walk in the sunlight. The memory of the warning will remain, but it will no longer sting. It will shine. It will serve as proof that God's discipline was never destruction, that His correction was always care. You'll look back and thank Him for every no that led you to this. Yes, this is your restoration, to be whole where you were once wounded, to be peaceful where you were once panicked, to be free where you were once fearful. The warning has become wisdom, and wisdom has become wealth, the kind of wealth that cannot be measured by currency but by clarity. Walk gently now, not as one who barely survived, but as one who has been transformed. The promise beyond the warning is not a story about what you escaped, it's a testimony about who you became. You are not the same person who trembled at the sound of December 3rd. You are the one who rose when others fell, who listened when others ignored, who obeyed when others delayed. And now, the sound that began on December 3rd resounds again, but it no longer feels like a warning. It beats softly within you, like a memory turned heartbeat, like the rhythm of heaven woven into your veins. What once came as thunder now whispers through your spirit with familiarity. You no longer fear it because you've learned what it truly meant. The warning was never about destruction. It was an awakening call, a preparation for transformation. And now, The final trumpet is not sounding from the sky. It's sounding from within you. You have become the message. You have walked through the shaking, the silence, the refining fire, and you emerged not wounded, but wiser. What heaven once spoke to you in symbols and signs, you now embody. The echo of that December day has matured into understanding. The fear that once paralyzed you has become reverence, and reverence has become strength. You are living proof that obedience turns warnings into wonders, as the ancient scripture reminds us in the book of 2 Corinthians on chapter 5, verse 17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. You are that new creation. The trembling heart that once resisted has been replaced by a steadfast one. You no longer run from the voice, you carry it. You no longer question the signs, you interpret them. Heaven does not need to shout anymore because you've tuned your spirit to its frequency. You and the divine message are now one breath, one rhythm, one light. The final trumpet within you is not made of brass or sound, it's made of conviction. It's the moment when you realize that what once terrified you was simply truth disguised in thunder. You've learned to hear the gentle tone behind the storm, the invitation behind the instruction. That's what it means to be chosen not to escape warning, but to evolve through it. Look at how your life has changed since the beginning of this journey. You've shed layers you didn't know you wore: fear, resentment, regret, and beneath them, you've found resilience. Your vision has sharpened. Your faith has deepened. You've grown quiet in a world obsessed with noise. Still in a world addicted to movement. That stillness is not emptiness. It's authority. You are no longer trying to find your place in the world. You are shaping the world by simply existing in truth. The warning that once haunted your nights has become the rhythm of your mornings. It beats with hope now, not dread. It says, remember where you came from, but don't return there. It's the inner compass that guides you away from old traps and toward new horizons. Each day you walk with clearer vision, surer steps, and a softer heart. Heaven doesn't need to repeat itself anymore, because you have learned to remember the divine message was never meant to be external forever. Prophecy begins outside but must end inside. When heaven speaks loudly, it's only because silence was too deep. But once the voice finds a home in your heart, its volume decreases. That's how you know you've matured, when you no longer need signs to believe, because faith itself has become your atmosphere. You've carried this message long enough to understand that it was never about a single day on the calendar. December 3rd was simply the doorway, the starting point of remembrance. The real transformation was not tied to a date, but to destiny. That moment marked the alignment of heaven's timeline with yours. And ever since, you've been walking in step with eternity. Now you see why the warning had to return stronger. It wasn't heaven's frustration, it was heaven's faith in you. God knew you would understand it this time. That's why the signs intensified, the whispers deepened, and the conviction grew heavier. It wasn't judgment, it was investment. Heaven doesn't repeat itself to mock you, it repeats to mold you. You stand now not as a student, but as a steward of the sound. The message that once entered your ears now flows through your words, your actions, your presence. You've become a vessel carrying the echo of awakening to others still asleep. Your life itself has turned into prophecy. This is the full circle. The warning that once came to wake you is now entrusted to you to awaken others. You are not the audience anymore, you are the voice. Every place you go, every person you touch will feel that same holy resonance that first touched you. The trumpet no longer sounds above you, It resounds through you. And when people ask what changed, you will not speak of fear or doom. You will say, I listened, I learned, I became. Because that is the miracle of divine repetition. It turns listeners into messengers, and messengers into movements. Chosen one, if your heart has stirred while reading these words, it is because heaven is still speaking through them. You have walked the entire journey from the warning to the awakening, from the trembling to the transformation. And now, you stand at peace, carrying the very sound that once shook you. This message was never about fear. It was always about calling you home to yourself, back to the rhythm of heaven that beats quietly in your chest. Every word you've absorbed has been a mirror to remind you who you are: the light in the storm, the voice in the silence, the living proof that purpose outlasts pain. What began as a whisper of warning has turned into a declaration of victory. You are walking evidence that grace still works, that destiny still calls, and that those who listen still rise. If this message has touched you, if it found you at the right moment, let your heart respond. Like this, so the light keeps traveling. Share it with someone who might need a reminder that their story isn't over yet. When you subscribe, you don't just follow a channel, you join a circle of awakened souls who walk in the same light. And when you comment, let it be from your spirit. Tell what part spoke to you, what you felt, what you remembered. Your story may be the spark that reignites another chosen one's flame. Each response becomes a ripple, each share a seed of hope sent into a world desperate for truth. The sound that began as a warning now flows through us all. Together, we are the echo of heaven, still rising, still shining, still chosen.